Greetings everyone, my name is Dr. Jason Freeman. I'd like to welcome you all to my channel. So I just finished watching the Secret Invasion series on Disney Plus about a month after it finished airing, and I have thoughts. Thought number one, this series has some of the best acting that we've seen in a single project within the MCU. So not to denigrate past performances by other actors. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is one of the best actors of all time. Angela Bassett, Chadwick Boseman, Mark Ruffalo. You have some A-list actors within the MCU. But I'm saying within one single project, so within Secret Invasion, you have some of the best acting within that single project. Now before I go any further, I do want to just mention there will be spoilers within this video. So if you don't want spoilers, go ahead and click away now. Alright, you've been warned. So let's start with Samuel L. Jackson with his performance of Nick Fury. Within this series, he gave a multi-layered performance of this character. We saw softness and vulnerability in the scenes with his wife. We saw ruthlessness when he's threatened to kill a teenager when faced with destruction of the world. We see grief and extreme vulnerability and sadness with the loss of Maria Hill and Talos. And we even see a bit of arrogance when he is being fired by basically the Skrull version of Rhodey, who he thinks is Rhodey, and his kind of reaction that they sent you to fire me. So again, a bit of arrogance. One of my favorite performances in the series was Don Cheadle as the Skrull. I think Rava was the name of the Skrull. Supposed to be a female Skrull who was Rhodey, pretending to be Rhodey. And so he was great. He was going back and forth toe-to-toe with Sam Jackson. He was a credible villain, so at the first you don't know that he is the Skrull, and all of a sudden that switch happens in the scene with Vera, and so now we know he's a Skrull. So yeah, he was great in this, and he was, for the first times we've seen, in my opinion, seen Cheadle as a villain in that way, and so he was a great villain in this series, and so I thought he did a great job too. And I thought Kingsley Ben-Adir was good as Gravik. He was menacing. Gravik was a menacing villain, but it was still, I would say, a bit one note. There wasn't, I would have loved to have seen a little bit more range of this particular character. We were supposed to, on some level, hate him, but I think it would have been better also if we had some empathy. Oh, actually, we're supposed to empathize with him. That was kind of showing the kid version of him, empathize. And he gives a speech at the end kind of saying how essentially Fury pushed him to what he was doing. But I never really got that part of it. It was more so angry and scary and menacing. And so it was a bit one note. Thought number two. The worst thing about this show was his absolutely atrocious writing that was rife with plot holes. Now, one of the dumbest scenes in MCU history was the president's motorcade. I think it was in England, driving, and having some of the worst protection in the history of motorcades in the movies. I mean, this is a world with like top-notch technology. This is a world with superpowered people, not just the Avengers, but as we saw in the really bad She-Hulk series, which is canon. There are superpowered people everywhere. They couldn't have got one superpowered person who was loyal to the United States, who wanted to work for the president in this motorcade. You got freaking wizards. Wizards. And so none of them could be in the motorcade, just a bunch of guys with guns that could easily be taken out by a small group of rogue people with guns. I mean, with no intelligence or anything. Come on. Then you have the idea of Nick Fury having this army of Skrulls. I mean, I know he didn't know there was a million, but having a whole bunch of Skrulls out there working, and somehow this is the first we're hearing about it. Now, I know this was something that probably came up with the series, like coming up with the series. I get that part. It was not thought of back in the original Avengers. But by introducing an element like that, it brings a lot of questions. Why weren't these people brought in certain situations? When, if you have one undetectable Skrull get in a certain position, the movie's over. And so don't introduce the idea of this Skrull army. It doesn't make sense. You can have the Skrulls on Earth, just don't have them working for Fury. It doesn't make sense. And again, it's one of those things that we've seen over and over again. It's a cool idea in the room, but when you really poke at it, it falls apart in a pretty flimsy manner. And the other thing that really makes this, the writing in this series a joke, The plot armor that Nick Fury has is the only thing that saved the Earth. Kill Fury at any point, and Gravik had a million chances. Kill Fury at any point, and you got it. You won. It's over. Yet, of course, again, I know plot armor. I know this is a series. They can't kill him, and so therefore, that's the only reason they won. There was no other real plausible reason that they won. It was just because he didn't want to kill Fury until the very end, and that's it. If he kills Fury at any point, the Skrulls win and the movie's over. So, the series over. And so, again, just don't have him in all those vulnerable situations where, just one little decision by Gravik and it's over. And so that's another thing. So especially when Gravik had these Super Skrull powers, there's no reason that he doesn't win. There has to be something else that would have put it in the favor of the heroes. But that wasn't done. It was just, he didn't want to kill Nick Fury and therefore he didn't kill him, even though Nick Fury shot him in the face. So why wouldn't he kill him there? Because Nick Fury would have killed him. So yeah, it was dumb. And I'll add one last big huge plot hole. It was mentioned multiple times. Why don't you have your powerful friends come in? Maybe one, maybe two come in to help you out. And of course, no. The fate of the world is at stake. So there's a potential nuclear strike that's going to lead to Armageddon. There's Gravik getting the Super Skrull, getting the harvest and the Super Skrull powers. That could be unbeatable. But because Nick Fury doesn't want to use his friends, he's going to leave the world at risk. This is stupid. This is terrible writing. And so either you come up with a better script, you get a better script, but just don't do the series. And so that, to me, is one of the reasons why ultimately, I think fatigue is a big reason. Superhero fatigue is a big reason why the series didn't work. But the reason that I'm not going to go back to it is because the writing is absolutely horrid. Thought number 3. This series sets up the world in which the X-Men are going to be introduced, and that has me a little worried. So one common thing within the MCU was the increasing fear and anger towards superhuman beings. In Iron Man 2, you have essentially government wanted to take the Iron Man suit away from Tony Stark. In Captain America Civil War, you have the Sokovia Accords put into place to try to keep essentially superpowered people registered. You even have an organization called the Department of Damage Control, which we've seen in Spider-Man No Way Home and Ms. Marvel, that's basically there to keep superpowered people under control. And so at the end of Secret Invasion, we see it taken up a notch with, now you have vigilante groups that are going after and killing, in this case, Skrulls, which are superpowered beings. You have the government sending essentially hit squads to take out Skrulls. And so you can think it's just one step away from essentially using those same, having the hit squads and having these civilian groups that are kind of fanatics to go after other superpowered beings, including the mutants. Now, the reason that I'm worried is that many MCU fans fell in love with the Avengers because of the ambitious goal of bringing the stars of multiple franchises together into one movie where they face off against a foe that's too strong for any one of them to take on alone. But X-Men is a very different animal. The main foe within that series or within that comic book series is the world in which they live. The foe are things like the Department of Damage Control, the Sokovia Accords, these groups that are introduced within the end of Secret Invasion. And so if fans don't buy into that, if fans aren't into what has been set up, this world that's been created over these different movies and series, then it's going to be really tough for X-Men to be successful. So before Marvel introduces the X-Men, they have to get people to be excited about being in this world again. They do this by telling exciting stories without an agenda other than good storytelling with interesting characters that people actually care about, or can learn to care about, such as was the case with Rocket Raccoon in Guardians 3. We need more Werewolf by Night and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which, by the way, were well received, and fewer shows like She-Hulk, which are so cynical and heavy-handed in their messages, they actually drive fans away from the MCU. Now, if you found this video interesting and or informative, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, please share this video. And if there's more superhero-related content that you want me to cover on this channel, please leave those suggestions in the comment section below. Thank you all for your time and have a wonderful rest of your day.